Oh. Again, I might have to disappear at some random point, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish Chapter 3 today, but I might as well try. I don't know how long it's going to be. I think I said it last time as well, but I don't know how this is going to go forward. Figuring out who the professor is, figuring out the relationship between these two. I just don't... I don't see how there's going to be another big twist, to be honest. Maybe a bit with Van Zykes. I don't know. And what's this dreadful thing that Sholmes warned us about that's going to happen? It's very hard to say. And Chasm on the other side of the courtroom hasn't done anything yet. Hey, straight into the best music in the game. Right, we just nailed him on the fact that he knew that the professor wore a mask. You found me. It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And I've already been at pains to point out... And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified. Which is why I had it in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards, I came to my senses and realized that I'd been mistaken. You're still saying you didn't see it? If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, that was some sibilance and a half, then amend your testimony and explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course, of course. I'd only too happy to oblige. I can't believe he's still not going to concede the point. What I in fact witnessed was a fellow gravedigger at work, or graverobber at work. Hold it! A fellow graverobber? What are you talking about? Well, I wasn't the only one in the cemetery that night, you know. Other body snatchers were at work. Of course, when I saw one emerging from the hole he'd dug, my heart very nearly stopped. So that's the terrifying sight I actually saw, you see. You're claiming it was just another student on equally You're claiming it was just another student on equally salubrious. It's a hard word to do in the Van Zykes voice. You're claiming that it was just another student on equally insalubrious business as yourself. Many of the medical students would wear metal masks to protect them from bacteria during dissections. Clearly, the fellow was using such a mask to protect his anonymity, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
Objection! But there's more to the story, isn't there? The article goes on to say, in the next second, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. And Naruhodo completely neglected to bring this up in his questioning last stream. bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath then stilled once more.
We might assume that the sexton discovered the miscreants at work, perhaps, and fired upon one of them.
If a gravedigger had shot someone in the cemetery, I think it might have been rather big news, my lord.
Oh, yes, well...
I can only assume it was an embellishment bolted on later by the reporter. An embellishment? As I explained earlier, most of what the papers published about those events was fabricated nonsense. The journalists had a great time fashioning it into a horrifying ghost story. So, now you're saying there was no gunshot? That's right, yes. I'm afraid so. I mistakenly thought I'd seen a corpse coming back to life, and then fled the scene. That's really all that happened. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Hold it! Hold it!
Objection!
Objection!
Why did you...
Strange.
What the fuck was that voice? Strange. Excuse me. Madame Tuspels. Don't take it out on Mr. Sholmes. Oh la la, pardon. I was lost in my thoughts. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Drebber's last remark was significant to you in some way? I thought it was a little strange. That's not French, that's Russian. I'm so bad at this. Le baguette. I thought it was a little strange, that is all. How Monsieur Drebber could claim this now. If you don't mind me saying, Madame, what are you talking about? Well, when I met you, about 10 years ago in your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, no? Including the gunshot. Stop. You might want to watch your tongue, you know.
Objection!
Objection! Have a care, Drebber. That's no way to speak to a lady. Grr. Please, Madame Tuspels, carry on. Of course. According to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him, and the bullet hit the condemned man. I said nothing of the sort. No, you were very explicit about the details. About the masks that the figure was wearing. And the blood that spattered over you when he was shot. Enough. Shut up, woman. You're making all this up.
That will do. Mr. Drebber.
Yes.
You refute the account just given by Madame Tuspels.
I have no recollection of ever saying those things. Come on, do you really expect us to believe you?
Control yourself, Counsel. I will not permit baseless accusations in my court.
Right.
Under the circumstances, I think it should be best that you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this witness.
Very well. There was no gunshot from behind me at all. Nor any splattering of blood. Hold it! Hold it! Yet Madame Tuspels has testified that you told her about both of those details. Not true. I said nothing of the sort.
10 years have passed. Without material evidence to the contrary, you have no grounds on which to question the witness's word. Ugh.
Tell me, Madame Two-Spells. Oui? What exactly did Mr. Weber say about the blood that had apparently spattered on him? Alors, this is what he told me. All of a sudden, he heard a very loud gunshot from behind his back. The bullet hit the figure who was emerging from the tomb, in the middle of the chest, in his heart. Why am I saying "the" when it's French? Bad.
One dreadful sight after another.
And since Monsieur Weber was at the time facing towards the condemned man, the blood doesn't work. So, the blood sprayed from the wound and spattered on his body. That is what he told me. So, not an experience you would ever forget, is it? Precisely, and I didn't forget it, because, as I've already said, it never happened in the first place. He's clearly lying. If only I had some evidence to prove it. We can't let him win, Mr. Naruto. So we mustn't overlook a single detail, no matter how small. Objection. Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera? But that is a camera from that fateful night. That is not... The Two-Spells voice has gone down the toilet once again. Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It's the camera that you took with you to the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber. And is that supposed to be significant? This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleague and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forwards on the end of some bellows. Like this.
Hold it! Hold it!
What the hell?
Hold it!
What the fuck?
Hold it!
Is that appropriate? 1 minute.
Objection. Hold it! What's that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like a dark red stain.
Ah. That's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here on the bellows, in fact.
Good Lord, are you suggesting?
Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a spatter of blood. Something that could... No. So I couldn't do a fucking French accent for Madame Two-Spells, but the moment I start trying to do the fucking Susato voice, I start doing it in fucking French. Something that could be confirmed with a simple chemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Scythe? It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not it's blood at all is simple enough. I propose that Madame Two-Spells' testimony was correct, and that on the night in question, 10 years ago, you were spattered with blood from the gunshot wound. Well, And that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. There's simply no way that you could have forgotten such a traumatic experience. In other words, the only explanation is that you're trying to hide the fact that you saw the professor that night.
Objection. But why? Why would he want to do that?
Well, not for his own gain, it would seem.
For whose, then? Who could benefit?
Mr. Drebber is obviously lying in order to protect somebody.
My goodness, he's shielding someone.
Yes, my lord, and clearly it's someone who doesn't want the truth about the professor coming back to life to be exposed.
Well, Counsel, who is it then? Who is this witness trying to protect by lying about what he saw that night?
Take that! Take that! The obvious answer is Dr. Scythe.
Scythe? Whatever do you mean?
Imagine if the convict who'd been sentenced to death was not in fact killed. Imagine if that was to come to light. What are you insinuating? And imagine if the convict in question was the country's most hated mass murderer. If it was the professor.
That would be an unprecedented scandal.
Objection. This is beyond a joke. Need I point out that the dead cannot come back to life? What you're suggesting would mean that the execution never actually happened. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
Objection!
Objection. Once a man is sent to the gallows, he hangs. No one could escape, not in Great Britain.
Objection!
Objection. But the fact is, there was a witness to the fact the man did escape his hanging.
If that were really true, Counsel, the implications of misconduct would not stop at the supervising coroner. It would taint the honor of the entire judiciary from the ground up.
And it's exactly because of those monumental repercussions that Dr. Scythe would consent to any demand made of her by someone who threatened to expose the secret, even if that meant being complicit in the crime.
You mean?
I mean that Dr. Scythe wasn't collaborating in Mr. Drebber's wicked scheme. She was coerced into collaborating in order to protect her decade-old secret. She switched the dead body of Mr. Asman with the waxwork model and fabricated the autopsy report. Foot slam. Fucking foot slam. Lord Van Zykes. Pray forgive my freshly filled hallowed chalice, and a whole raft of other discourtesies now. Pray forgive my freshly filled hallowed chalice, and a whole raft of other discourtesies now.
Goodness me.
It's just the sort of tall tale. It's just the sort of tall tale Londoners would enjoy, I grant you. An executed killer rising from the dead, a Scotland Yard cover-up, a conspiracy at the highest levels. So let me ask you one thing. What's that? I thought he was going to smash it. If the condemned man really did emerge from his tomb that night, only to be shot in the chest, who pulled the trigger and disposed of him forever? Well, I have no idea at the moment. We have too little information to work that out at present, I think. I couldn't agree more. The Old Bailey is no place for wild fantasies. And have you considered this, my learned Nipponese friend? Considered what? Do you realize just what a dangerous endeavor it would be to coerce this woman into such criminal activity? It's tantamount to declaring war on the entire British police force and judiciary.
Quite hard to imagine any sum of money being offered for research that could warrant it.
To rely on some stage deception when so much is at stake would be madness.
Well, I suppose... And this was no petty crime either. The victim was murdered. A man who'd already invested money into the venture and would be instrumental in future profits too.
Yes, I had no reason to kill Mr. Asman at all. Or are you forgetting that his death results in me not receiving a single penny? The court is already aware of the contract between myself and the victim, no.
There is the contract, that's very true.
Could have forged the signature. This could be forged. He has a copy of his signature from the newspaper 10 years ago. He could have forged Asman's signature. Let's see just how identical it is. Or maybe it's just a... Maybe that's reading into it too much. Just because it's exactly identical doesn't mean anything. The S touches the start of the S. And the M does not touch the A. Nope. Oh, you can't see. Oh, you can see. Yeah, I mean, it feasibly could be forged. We can't prove it, though.
There is the contract. There is the contract. That's very true.
The motive for this case runs deep, though. I can feel it. Using threats to force the head of the forensic investigation team. Yeah, I don't know if they were collaborating. I think it's entirely plausible that Scythe found out... No, it's not feasible at all. How could Scythe have known? Presuming they didn't tell each other. And, like, you know, were in cahoots. Presuming they weren't in cahoots. How could Scythe have known that he was going to expose a secret? Maybe... No. Using threats to force the head of the forensic investigation team to cooperate is extreme. Especially for a government grant that he had no guarantee of receiving in the first place. If the research grant was the aim, taking Mr. Asman's life would have made no sense anyway. That's why I think Scythe took Asman's life herself without telling Drebber. Which means Mr. Drebber's motive wasn't money at all. He was just trying to kill Mr. Asman. Drebber's motive wasn't money. The only reason that I can think of for why Drebber wanted to kill Asman is this exact newspaper article. It's the only prior link between them. And it's in black and white, right here. Here's his name. Here's his name. That's their only link prior to Hairbrain. But why? What was his motive then? Your time is up, my learned friend. I'd say you have one last chance before the jury I'd say you have one last chance before the jury lose their patience with this charade. Let's see if you can back up your heady proposal, shall we? Casimir dodges. How can you explain...
How do you explain why this engineer would throw all caution to the wind and threaten his own country? At this point, I'm not prepared to listen to more of this outlandish conjecture without proof. So, Council, present your evidence.
All right. Who exactly was Mr. Asman to Drever? There's a connection there that no one's seen yet. I'm going to have to present 2 pieces of evidence to show what it is. 2 pieces of evidence to connect. I mean, this... I was thinking this, but this doesn't have anything to do with Asman. Well, it's obvious where you start. Yes, my lord. The evidence that establishes a motive and explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. It's a very lofty way of saying it, Ryunosuke. Very lofty. This is the only thing that makes sense.
Take that!
Take that! It's this newspaper article, my lord.
That was written 10 years ago, and every detail has been examined already. What can it possibly tell us?
That dribble should never have been written. It's typical gutter press nonsense that means nothing. Yes, on its own, it isn't particularly significant. However, when considered alongside another piece of evidence, it will completely explain your motive for wanting Mr. Asman dead.
What other evidence? Counsel, you will present your supplementary evidence without delay. The evidence which, when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, establishes a motive for the deed.
Okay, now this is hard. I'm gonna go through one by fucking one. You can't present the same thing again. This is promising. The investor, Mr. Odi Asman, hereby enters into contract with the provider, Mr. Enoch Grover, to fund labour and materials for the construction of a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Mr. Drever is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. Mr. Drever may only uphold this right on the condition that both contracting parties are alive, with signatures. He said it's not for money, and we're going with that. So, this is my last resort. This is my last resort as I see it. I can't think of anything else. There's no motive in this image. It could be this. Mr. Asman could be the professor. That's stupidly far-fetched. But there's no reason he couldn't be. It could be this. If he opened it, it could be this. I don't know if it's likely or not. So far, I'm thinking 1 possibility, 2 possibilities, 3 possibilities. I'm going to re-examine this. I'm pretty sure it's not, but... The fact that we haven't used this at all yet troubles me. This hasn't came up at all in the trial, or even in the investigation. It could be the photo. It's not impossible that it's the photo that he took, that may or may not exist. This isn't a motive. This isn't a motive. This isn't a motive. Though, again, there's no blood on it. As I am wont to point out on many occasions. There's no motive here. Usually you would think it's like revenge or hatred. It's not a motive. That's not a motive. Where he was stabbed is irrelevant. Not a motive, not a motive. Not a motive. Is there a motive hidden in here? Okay, it could be that. The Reaper. Okay, that could be it. Have you not asked? Okay. Okay. Let's try the bat. Mention of Asman or Graverobber in here. The kingpins of the criminal underworld generally managing to escape conviction in the Reaper's trials. And this isn't the first time their henchmen have tried to attack Lord Van Dykes as a result, by the sound of it. It makes you think, if that's how the justice system works in London, then there must be dark forces at work. So there's four options. There's four options. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Right? Number 5. I don't think it's this. This just doesn't... cross-referenced with the newspaper article. Let's read that newspaper article very fucking carefully. Lowgate Cemetery... Seam is on the verge of raising a shriek. Bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest. Chest. Breath then stilled once more. Then finally released the scream he'd been holding. There's no words in the article. I mean, the only thing here is Asman's signature. That makes me think it's the contract. Even though I said it's my last resort. The only thing in here is the signature O. Asman. Right? And the only other piece of evidence which can be, as the judge puts it, cross-reference with the newspaper article, it's the contract. I'm not convinced it's forged, though. Not at all. Why would it be forged? That seems stupid. And how does it being forged provide a motive for killing him? I don't think it does. So I'm thinking it's either the contract, and I'm gonna be nice. These two are very similar because they're both of them would be saying Asmon is the professor, which, when you read the article, doesn't make sense. So I think these two can be discounted. The professor's going to be someone else entirely. One sec, who could the professor be? There's no way it's just like some random dude. It has to be someone we know. Clint Van Zykes? Doesn't make sense. I don't know. No, it's nothing to do with that. No. I mean, you could plausibly come up with some weird shit, but it's not a clear connection. So I don't think it's this. This seems semi-plausible. I don't see the motive, though, with the newspaper article. I'm going to read again. That doesn't mean anything. The Reaper attacked. It's the kingpins of the criminal underworld generally managed to escape conviction and this isn't the first time their henchmen have tried to attack Lord Van Zykes as a result, by the sound of it. Makes you think, if that's how the justice system works in London, then there must be dark forces at work. The problem here isn't okay, here's a reason that it might not be this. Right? Here's a reason. If it's this, this piece of evidence talks about Van Zykes being attacked. Not about Odie Asmon being reapered. It's talking about Van Zykes being attacked. Right? It's so hard, because every possible answer feels wrong. Right? There's a reason against each thing. It's not this. It is not this, because this talks about Van Zykes being attacked, not about Odie Asmon being tried. It's not this, because the motive wasn't money. And really, how does this establish any motive at all? He has a motive explicitly not to kill him. This, it doesn't make sense for it to be this, it's not this, because there's no way for us to draw the conclusion that Asmon was the professor, and the professor was shot and is dead, so he's obviously not the professor. It can't be this, because Graverobber said he hadn't figured out how to open the lock. It isn't this. Can't be this. And it can't be this. It's just not possible. I'm gonna read the transcript again. This game is a lot harder than DGS1. A lot harder. Let's read all of the text again. Alright, who exactly was Mr. Asman to Drebber? He was the reporter who released the story. He was the investor. That's it. I'm gonna have to present two pieces of evidence. There's a connection that no one's seen yet. A connection that no one's seen yet. There's not two connections that no one's seen yet. There's a connection with two pieces of evidence to show what it is. Asman is the guy who stopped Drebber becoming a scientist. Because he printed his name in the newspaper. And it ruined his dreams. Holy fuck, that makes so much sense. The evidence that establishes a motive and explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. The newspaper article, which contains the name Enoch Drebber. That was written 10 years ago, and every detail has been examined already. What can it possibly tell us? That drivel should never have been written. It's typical gutter press nonsense that means nothing. The drivel should never have been written, including his name. Yes, on its own, it isn't particularly significant. However, when considered alongside another piece of evidence, the trophy, it will completely explain your motive for wanting Mr. Asman dead. He ruined his life. Yeah, he was clearly a very talented scientist. And that was taken away from him. I'm very confident with this now. Yeah, it's not that. He kept this trophy. It means a lot to Drebber to be a scientist. And here's the question, right? Here's the real thing that makes me think it's this. A bit metagamey, but if we're not going to use this science trophy now, when are we going to use it, right? We've got to use it. We have to use it now. Take that! Take that! How the fuck fuck did I just talk myself into presenting the wrong thing? Again! Again, dude! I fucking did it again! Oh my god. Oh my god.
I think it's fair to say that after your presentation of evidence, Counsel, we only have half the story.
That's right, my lord, which is why I just presented another piece of evidence to complete it. Clearly my learned friend only has half an education. An irony wasn't included on the syllabus. So let me put this in words of 0 syllables that even you will understand. Wait, I see it now. It's a play on syllabus and syllables. That's the irony. That was just a pun, Mr. Naruhodo. The irony was elsewhere. Oh.
Fucking hell. Your argument clearly does not stand without this second piece of evidence, which remains elusive.
Ah, yes, sorry, my lord. The evidence I need to supplement the article. I know it's right in front of my eyes.
Counsel, you will present your supplementary evidence without delay. The evidence, which when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, establishes a motive for the deed.
Fuck! That felt so right. Let's double check I did present the right thing. Science trophy. Fuck! God damn it! Now we're back to square one. Back to square one. Square fucking one, dude. Actually square one. Cross-referenced with the newspaper article. With the newspaper article. If I'm gonna go and be go off the judge's wording here, right? Which I have been fucked over by trusting the wording way too many times, right? I've been fucked over by overanalyzing the words in a question too much. So many times. The evidence which, when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, establishes a motive for Drever to kill Aspen. Read it again. I thought this was such a good fucking thing. I was so convinced that it would be the article, the trophy. It makes so much sense that it's the trophy. But I'm so stuck. This is going to be yet another one. What was the last one where I was just like, really? And I lost 2 lives on it earlier. It was literally the same testimony that I lost 2 lives, right? Because what did I do earlier that made me lose lives? I tried to present the camera, right? I tried to do that on his first statement, and then the other one that I tried to present evidence to was this science trophy when he mentioned that he couldn't become a scientist. Because he did become a scientist, but he didn't. Right? So I've lost a life on this and I've lost a life on this. And I lost a life on this again. I've lost 2 lives on this fucking science trophy. Ah. A motive to kill Asman. 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 Doesn't make that. Could Asman have been the professor? Fuck me. I think I've ruled out this. A motive for the deed. This isn't a motive for the deed. Let's double check everything that I'm overlooking, right? Because it could easily just be something that I'm legit overlooking. No. 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 Ooh. No. No, 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 no. 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 No, 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 no. A for Asman? No. And obviously my client says it's his. No, there's no motive there. No matter how you slice it. No, no motive there. I mean, we used this photo in the investigation. I don't see how we're going to use it in the trial. Why didn't we just throw it out? Though I've always thought that the fact that you throw out redundant evidence is stupid in this game. You know, if you know that all the evidence in the court record is relevant, it really messes with your ability to. You know, it gives you an extra hint that you shouldn't have. So no. No. It really comes down to here onwards, minus the trophy. No, I don't think it's this. I don't think it's this at all. How did Asman draw this drawing so accurately? How did Asman draw it so accurately? Not a clue. Not a clue. Maybe Drebber didn't realise that Asman was the same guy. Then once the contract was signed, he thought, oh shit. This guy ruined my scientific career. And that's when he decided to kill him. This seems plausible because then they can say like, oh, where is the connection? It's the signature. The other option, this is stupid. Saying that he's the professor is also stupid. Which leaves this. By process of elimination, it must be this. It can't be the same thing again. Can't be this. Those don't make sense. We've tried that. This is too much of a leap. Stupid, 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 stupid. I've talked through this one for like 10 minutes. It's obviously not this. Stupid. Take that! Oh, I'll quit. Okay, I only lost one life. Okay. It's this contract, my lord. Mr. Drebber, this is the contract you signed with Mr. Asman. Yes, that's right. The very document, in fact. That proves I had no reason to kill the man. No, I'm afraid not. What? There's something very significant that this newspaper article and the contract have in common.
Really?
So I'm saying... Okay. Step back a second. I was right the first time. I was fucking right the first time. We're gonna say that fucking Drebber is pissed off that he couldn't become a scientist and it was all Asman's fault. That's what we're gonna say. That's the motive. But I tried the fucking thing and it didn't work. Okay. And it's that common link that shows very clearly why you were determined to kill Mr. Odi Asman. It seems the defense has uncovered something the rest of us have missed. So, my learned friend, point out what these two pieces of evidence have in common. Where exactly is the link between this newspaper article and the contract? Take that! What these two pieces of evidence have in common is a signature.
A signature?
The signature on the illustration that accompanies the 10-year-old article and the signature on the contract belong to the same person.
What?
As the court has heard, this illustration was drawn 10 years ago by the newspaper reporter who found Mr. Drebber and interviewed him about his ordeal. If you look closely, the reporter's signature can be seen in the bottom right corner of the drawing. And if you look at the contract here, which was signed between the witness and the victim last year, you can clearly see Mr. Asman's signature at the bottom.
Let me see now. Oh, good lord. Yes, they're identical.
In short, the journalist who drew the illustration and wrote the article published about Mr. Drebber 10 years ago was the victim of this case, Mr. Odi Asman. See,
Objection!
Objection. But explain to the court why. Why would that constitute a motive for the witness to murder Asman? Well, if you think back, you'll remember that Mr. Drebber talked about that article in his testimony.
Grave robbing, you say?
Yes, exhuming fresh corpses to sell is reasonably lucrative.
That is quite beyond a pale. You would invite divine retribution, sir.
Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper that had the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of that newspaper article. At the time, you were a student of the University of London who dreamt of becoming a scientist. However, this single newspaper article changed your entire life.
So Mr. Asman used to be a newspaper journalist, did he?
He did, my lord. In fact, it's a widely held belief that Asman managed to position himself at the heart of his criminal network, thanks to the many dubious connections he made during his time as a reporter. So you had to give up on your dream and leave university. You lost everything. Eventually you found yourself working in the field of science, but only in the shadows. And all because of that article, written by Mr. Asman. Enough. Stop this endless drivel about my life.
What? Explain yourself, Mr. Trevor.
Yes, it's true. I had to leave university as a result of that article. But it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean? Almost every student of science in the faculty was too poor to actually conduct any research. But they struggled on with their hypotheses anyway. We all did, only to have them taken by vultures. Sooner or later, you knew your ideas would be stolen and patented by some other wretch or other, after all.
Good gracious.
Making a name for yourself as a scientist in a climate like that was a miracle only a select few geniuses could ever hope to achieve. Personally, I wasn't one of those geniuses, so it was hardly a wrench. Being forced out of university because of Lowgate was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Objection!
Objection! Mr. Drebber, do you genuinely believe that? Of course I do. Who's better placed to know whether or not I possess any talent for science than me? The Royal Society. I'm sorry to say that your words don't ring true at all. How dare you? And I have evidence to prove it. How are you in a position to say anything about me? I don't know you from Adam. Fine, if you think you have evidence, go ahead, show it. What could you possibly have to disprove the idea that I was happy to leave university because I lacked talent? Take that! Do you remember this, Mr. Drebber? We found it at your workshop. Is that
A Royal Society trophy for excellence in science? What exactly is this trophy, Count?
It's the greatest honor that can be bestowed on a young scientist, my lord. There is no higher accolade. It recognizes emerging talent and promises a bright future.
Good gracious.
Your prospects for the future were excellent, weren't they, Mr. Drebber? Because even then, you were a genius in your field. But you lost everything. You had no more future. Your talents would go to waste. All as a result of this one newspaper article. I don't know when you realized who Mr. Asman was, But when it dawned on you that he was the same journalist who 10 years ago ruined your life, it's abundantly clear that you had no intention of forgiving the man. The truth is, finally, he's going to fold. Or is he just going to come up with another piece of bullshit? The truth is... Hold it. It's gonna be Scythe, right? Hold it. Fine. Clearly this has run its course now. What? I admit it. All of it. What? What are you doing? It's exactly as the Japanese man said. I was coerced into going along with this man's plot to murder the victim. On the condition that he kept my dirty secret from 10 years ago.
No! Good Lord! Dr. Scythe, do you realize what you're saying, woman?
It's all true. That day, when I arrived at the Crystal Tower and saw the birdcage, my heart nearly stopped beating. That memory from a decade ago that I'd done my best to bury deep inside myself. It was the Professor again, staring me in the face. And then, before I had a chance to react, I noticed something else. There was a note tucked inside the model's jacket. Dr. Scythe, Dr. Scythe, you will go along with my plan. From someone who knows the truth about what really happened that night 10 years ago. All the instructions were there in the note. Every detail was meticulously written out. I had no choice but to do what it said. I made the necessary alterations to the scene and fabricated the autopsy report as instructed. There was really no other choice. It had to be done to protect the judiciary. I can only apologize now. That makes a lot of sense. Why on earth would you buckle now? Well, there's no point trying to hide it anymore, is there? I would have done anything to stop it coming out, even collaborate in murder. But the great lie about that execution 10 years ago has been exposed. Whatever happens, I'm finished. So then, Mr. Drebber, what do you say to that? Your accomplice has admitted everything. Surely, it goes without saying. You admit your part in it too, then? Heck no! I admit nothing. At all. Have you forgotten that the kinesis machine was ripped to shreds by an explosion? Short of me admitting to a crime, there's really no possible way for you to prove I did anything wrong. No!
Order!
Whatever this man says, I admit everything. He threatened to expose my secret So I went along with his plan. And Lord Van Zykes? Yes. I hope you'll accept my apologies. What happens next is in your hands, of course.
I have heard more than enough now. I hereby present the final findings of the court. This trial is not the proper forum in which to pursue the alleged wrongdoings of Mr. Drebber. The defendant is Professor Albert Harebrain.
Very true. It had slipped my mind. Isn't he one of your closest friends?
As the court has heard, Dr. Scythe has admitted to the allegations brought by the defense, thereby absolving the defendant of any possible guilt.
You mean... No, not absolving the defendant of any possible guilt. Couldn't... Graverobber could not... Well, no, he's not gonna... Well, maybe he is. To get it done and dusted. Maybe he's gonna say that Harebrain had his own motive to kill Asman, and that he was the one who messed with the machine because he knew how it was set up and he knew it was a fraud, and he knew that he had to take... Well, he was pissed off that his science was being ignored and that he was being scammed. Right? So he just wanted to kill Asman because he's been made a mockery of. You mean?
At the present time, it is the conclusion of this court that the defendant was not involved in any wrongdoing.
Casimir is yet to interject. He's yet to do anything. And Sholmes said that something would go awry. And we haven't finished solving the mystery yet. Who was the professor? Why was Lord Van Zykes attacked? There's more as well, but I can't think.
Does the prosecution have any objection?
None, my lord. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. You've proven Mr. Harebrain's innocence.
Without further ado, then, the adjudication, unless the prosecution or defense have any other matters to discuss.
I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right. Why did Dr. Scythe suddenly admit to it like that? What was Drebber about to say? What was Drebber about to say when she... He was about to say something. What was he about to say? Oh my god. I have to figure this out without the game telling me. Otherwise I'm going to feel like... I mean, I could just go back and watch the stream, but... What did he say? He was talking about how he had this motive. He wanted to kill Mr. Asman. He was about to say that, yes, he did hate Mr. Asman. No, he wasn't about to confess, though. Because he then decided not to confess. So what was he about to say? He was about to say that Dr. Scythe shot the professor. Or something like that. Is everything alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Like you said before, the way the trial is set to end now, the judge will certainly deliver a verdict of not guilty. But is that really what we want? What the defense should be pushing for now? I mean, I want to see what happens if you immediately win. Right? Like, you know I've got to try it. I know it's obviously wrong, because, you know, it's ace attorney, but... If the judge gives his verdict now, Professor Harebrain will be found not guilty, without any doubt. Is something troubling you, perhaps? Yes, but it's probably nothing. In the antechamber during the recess earlier, I did give Mr. Sholmes my word, though, didn't I? I told him I'd pursue any doubts I had about the truth to the absolute last. True. If you gave Mr. Sholmes your word, then it most certainly is nothing. And it means there's only one right answer here. Yes, you're right. I don't know why I was ever wavering.
Objection!
I'll have that be my real choice. But let's see what happens if you choose the other one.
Objection!
Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, no, fine. I'll load it. Just in case. I mean, it's not like Shutakumi to have shit like that matter, but...
I beg your pardon.
We demand one final testimony.
What? You do realize that I'm about to adjudicate in favor of your client, I presume?
What are you playing at, my Nipponese friend? Why would you want to obstruct the conclusion of the trial at this point? No defense lawyer in his right mind would do that. Mr. Naruhodo, what exactly are you thinking? Truth, the whole truth, and a way to bring it all out into the open. Right? Yes, in hindsight.
Ah, yes. One word of warning before I go. If in the course of the trial, this afternoon, you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand. Do not falter, whatever may come to pass.
I'm sure Mr. Sholmes knew. He must have deduced this would happen. Yes, I'm in here. Yes, I'm here in court today to advocate for my client and to secure an acquittal. Obviously. But that's not all. I believe that I have a duty to the court to pursue the whole truth of the case until every last detail is laid bare. And that is why the defense calls for further testimony from Dr. Side. Wait, this is the objection theme, right? Not pursue. Yeah, it is objection. Testimony from me? About what? About the nature of your collaboration with Mr. Enoch Jebber. Huh. In case it's escaped your attention, I've already admitted to everything I did. The whole truth has already been revealed. So stop wasting everyone's time. As his lordship has made very plain, your client will get the acquittal you wanted for him. There's simply no point in protracting this business further with another tedious cross-examination.
Objection! Objection! Get fucked. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Pray forgive my careless handling of that hallowed bottle. I slipped. That's what you call it? What is your objection, Lord Van Sykes? The prosecution also calls for supplementary testimony from the witness.
Don't be stupid.
If there is more to this case than has yet come to light, then I will join my learned friend in pursuing the facts until the bitter end.
You'll what?
Lord Van Sykes. Lord Van Sykes. There we go. This is most irregular, to say the least. However, as the prosecution also calls for it, I will uphold the request. Dr. Scythe, you will testify for the court, explaining the full extent of your involvement in the murder apparently committed by Mr. Drebber.
Aye, very well. It all began at that scene when I saw the waxwork and note tucked inside its jacket.
Present the fucking note, Scythe. Do it.
The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage.
She's going to be the Reaper. She had her own motive. Her motive was to kill a guy who escaped acquittal in Lord Van Sykes' prosecution.
The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body had been arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately. The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it.
So I was right. The stage and the machine were all specially designed for the deception.
So it seems, and all meticulously prepared. You did well to see through it. You're a very shrewd boy.
So kind of you to say.
And what about this autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage.
That's all? That's a terrible corruption.
Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you.
We must be thankful for the small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe that testimony has clarified everything. There's no particular need for a cross-examination, I would say.
No, I disagree. I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Just look at that expression on Dr. Scythe's face. It's the defense's right to cross-examine any witness following testimony. What is it about you Japanese that make you all so doggedly persistent?
Very well. If you so desire, Counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. Are you ready to get fucked up, Dr. Scythe? Get ready to get absolutely screwed. Get... Hold it! From what you described before, it sounds like the note was anonymous. Do you have any idea who was behind it? There are very few people There are very few people in the know about what really happened 10 years ago to start with. But anyway, I'd never heard of this engineer. So no, I had no idea. Yet despite not knowing who was behind the plan, you went along with it. I had no choice. Protecting the professor's secret was my only concern.
But the horse has bolted now, and the stable door will never shut again. Scotland Yard's reputation will be immeasurably damaged as a result of all this.
Yes, thank you, Lord Van Zykes. I'm well aware of that.
So, as I understand it, what you found in the birdcage was the waxwork model. Where, then, was the victim's body?
The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage.
Hold it!
Hold it! So you knew about the special construction of the stage used to carry out the trick, then? We need to bring in the other birdcage, which is supposed to be under the stage still. No? Or something like that. So you knew about the special construction of the stage used to carry out the trick, then? It was quite obvious what had happened with the victim and the waxwork. And you switched the two over, didn't you? In other words, you recorded the victim's body as having been discovered in the Crystal Tower. And the waxwork? I wrapped it and sent it by carriage to the specified address at the specified time. And why were you given such directions?
Presumably so it could be received by Presumably so it could be recovered by Mr. Drebber and returned to Madame Tuspel's.
I see. And then you put the birdcage back on the experimentation stage. Yes, although someone obviously made a mistake about which cage should go where. I thought I'd made it perfectly clear to the team, but still. I suppose you were focused on the victim's body, that being a more important detail. The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job.
Hold it!
Hold it! When you say arranged, I presume you mean with this. Yes, the instructions in the engineer's note said something along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that the harebrain alone could have killed Asman. So, you mean that was your doing? I fetched Harebrain's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage and took it with me, alone, to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen.
Alone, Doctor?
I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anybody else in that particular part of the deception. Did Drebber say he knew it was the screwdriver? Did Drebber need it to be the screwdriver? I don't know. New music, again. There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. False! Wait, no. This is where we do our bit. Yes, this is where she fucks up. She's gonna say she moved the body into the other birdcage, then stabbed him. We have evidence that shows it was the other way around. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest. Dude, what if he was alive? What if he was alive? And Drebber tricked her into killing him? Yeah. That would be so fucking crazy. Mate, I have a screwdriver right here for... And then you noted that in your fake autopsy report as a fictitious cause of death. Exactly. So, that the actual cause of death was... the trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop.
My word.
What is it, Miss Susato? Something about Dr. Scythe's last statement is playing on my mind, that's all. Yes, mine too. Dr. Scythe. There's really no need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well. The defense calls for you to add what you just said to your formal testimony. Oh, which part? What I want her to supplement her testimony with is... well, I think it's going to be number 2. So I'm going to press number 1. The real cause of death being the fall of 30 feet. That part. Fine, if that's what you want. Just stop yelling, please. The prosecution concurs.
Very well. You will supplement your testimony now, witness.
If you wish, my lord.
Hold it!
Hold it! You're quite sure of that? It was the result of a broken neck? Yes, as a professional, that was more than apparent. You'd never know just by looking at the photograph of the victim, though, would you? No, that's very true. Obviously not. Which is precisely why coroners are needed, to determine the actual facts. Yes, assuming they can be trusted. There's no point calling her assessment into question without evidence. Let's get back to the testimony. Very well. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately.
Hold it!
Hold it! The entire team in perverting the course of justice. My team consists of the very best investigators there are. I demand loyalty from all members. We operate on a code of chivalry of sorts. You aid and abet a murderer, commit perjury, and dare to talk of chivalry. It was a matter of priorities. What? Nothing was more important than protecting the secret of the professor. My team did what was necessary without losing sight of my primary goal. I consider their conduct exemplary. Don't concede the point, Mr. Naruhodo. You mustn't let her win. I need a lawyer. I'll take that silence as tacit acceptance. Now, can we move on? The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it.
Hold it!
Hold it! But at what cost? Faith in Scotland Yard is going to suffer a terrible blow as a result of this. And your precious secret is out now anyway.
Yes, you're a fucking idiot, Scythe.
Yes, as you say. And I take full responsibility.
Blimey, damn! Dr. Scythe!
Surely there was some other way you could have protected the secret. Like killing Drebber, perhaps? No, there really wasn't. I've done my utmost, believe me. In many ways, I respect your determination.
Phew, I nearly froze under that cold stare as she said that.
I do believe she was being genuine though, Mr. Naruhodo. So that's her story. She's admitted everything and revealed her full involvement in the crime. I do wonder if there could really be much more to it. Well, I don't know, but I just have a feeling. Do you, Mr. Naruhodo? The truth is, I find it strange too. That how those two are reacting to this in completely opposite ways, I mean. Yes, exactly. For some reason, I feel sure they're still trying to hide something.
Hold it!
You mean what you did with this, correct? I was merely carrying out the engineer's instructions. In his words, fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Hairbrain alone could have killed Asmund. And so you went, without any of your team, to where Asmund had fallen. That's right, yes. I leaned down over the birdcage and opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest. After that, it was simply a matter of recording the stab wound as the cause of death in the autopsy report. The real cause of death being the fall, of course. I'm sure there's something here in this testimony. You know, if you think it would be appropriate. I'm sure you could ask Dr. Sides to change the supplementary testimony she gave before. What should I ask her to do with the statement she added? Have her change it. Dr. Side, what you said before about what you did to the victim's body, I believe that may be significant. So could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead? Very well. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest.
Hold it!
Hold it! So it was you who stabbed Asmund with this? Yes, far easier than dissection, I assure you. No precision required. It's a welcome change. The victim died instantly from a snapped neck. All I did was carry out the instructions I'd been given.
And as unflinchingly as ever, no doubt. I imagine you didn't bat an eyelid when you drove the weapon into his body.
There was no need to bat my eyelids. And what else did you do to twist the facts? Remind the court, why don't you? We're gonna say that Drebber's note was a thing. Drebber did it all fine. Wait, no. Why was the forensic team called out in the first place? Did they already know that Asmund was dead? Or was he just knocked unconscious? No. No, who discovered the body? Who discovered... No, sorry. Who discovered... Who was the first to discover the wax model in the cage? It must have been Dr. Side. But why? Why did she go there? She was called out because, you know, there's been this terrible explosion. We need for the forensic team to look at the explosion or look at a murder. I'm going to say look at the explosion because that makes sense. Because how could they have known it was a murder? There was no murder. if you wish. There was no murder. No, there was a murder. No, there was no... Was there a murder? I don't know. Hold it! Hold it! The entire team, in perverting the cause of justice... My team consists of the very best. I demand loyalty. Wait, I've already read this. What? What? I stood over the... Hold it! Hold it! Oh, okay. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into his chest. We either need to show that he didn't die from the 30-foot drop, or this is wrong. This. I mean, she lied. I mean, that's weak. That's very weak. I mean, I totally could present it. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay, in the toppled cage, and plunged the screwdriver into the chest. Poking through the grill in the base. That's irrelevant. We have to use the fact there's no blood on this, right? No, that's useless. No. Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense, that's fine. Nothing there. No. Hold it! We're either saying he wasn't dead from the fall, or we're saying that she didn't stab him, or that there's some problem with her stabbing him. In this image, the head of the thing isn't broken. Real cause of death. Can I prove that he died from the stab wound?
Hold it!
Ah. Okay. Van Zykes makes a comment now. Is there anything to prove? Is it the birdcage? Read the description. The wooden cage that was used for the demonstration, it crashed down with the victim inside into the crystal tower, causing damage to its base. Not only does it have no blood on it, but it's damaged on the bottom, not the top. And we haven't updated the evidence since then to say that this is the one that was... No! No! Because we said that the one that fell into the crystal tower was the one that was hurt at the top. So this contradicts something. But which thing does it contradict? Neck trauma. It's this. I'm gonna save in case I'm stupid again. Right? Let's examine that piece of evidence and read what Naruhodo says. Let's check the stream's alright, which it is. Audio's good. There's only one thing to examine. Is it possible? Multiple witnesses say they saw it fall head first. It's this. Is it possible that this is the one that fell in the crystal tower? It has no blood on it. I think it's this. It just makes sense. I'm so scared this is going to be wrong. Damage to its base. If I'm trusting the court record, this is right.
Objection!
No! The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord.
And I would have to overrule your objection, Count.
I'm gonna lose, dude. The defense would have to accept the penalty given. Let's go one by fucking one. No. 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 I'm not going to piss about on one life and try this. I mean... She said that, yeah, I just had to record it wrong. Right, at this point, this is obsolete. This doesn't tell us the truth of anything. It wasn't lowered down slowly. It was dropped. Unless... Was it lowered down slowly? I don't think so. Let me read Naruhodo's final thoughts again. I'm gonna press everything again and just read it in my head, just to satisfy myself. Yeah. This confusion with the cages is gonna be the pivotal thing. Her animations are really good. I don't think there's any need to ask her to change it. Of course, I'm sure you're right. Hold it! Let's read this one carefully again. You're quite sure of that? There's no point, he says. Hold it! Excuse me! Excuse me. Mr. Drebber, is something wrong? Mr. Drebber! Not what he meant. No, or not. It would appear his only answer is that rather bewitching mechanical wiggle. He could have just said no. Maybe it is the other thing. I thought it was the other thing at first.
Hold it! Hold it!
Maybe it is this here. Like, okay. I don't think it's the other statement. Like, how would we possibly prove that he didn't die from a fall? Like, I went through the evidence and thought about it, and there's just nothing. Right? Nothing about the design of the cage, nothing. There's nothing. Whereas here, she's saying that it was the cage that he fell in. Were the cages moved, or was the body moved? The evidence suggests that the cages were moved. She hasn't said otherwise. Wait. Wait. Were the cages moved or were the bodies moved? If the cages were moved, then this cage would be in the tower. After all, the other one was damaged in the head. And this cage would have had the blood on it. If the bodies were moved, there would have been, in this photo, no blood on the cage. Like here. Oh, I'm so fucking scared this is wrong. Oh my god. I can't lose on case 3. I'm quite... I'm very unsure. This feels logical. The birdcage issue. I said it in the investigation, for goodness sake. There's no blood. Look. There's no blood. I find it so odd that there's nothing else to investigate on it. No way, dude. What's that little texture bug? I don't know. I've got to do it. I've got to do something, and this is the only thing I can think of. If it's not this, I'm lost. Right? If it's not this, right? I don't even know anymore. The photo, but like, I have no idea how. Does this prove that he didn't die from falling? No. There's no way it does. As I see it. You can't say the cage was... You can't say anything about the cage here. Why doesn't the top look damaged, though? Because this was supposed to be the other cage. Wait, because it has blood on it. So this isn't the cage we have in our possession. It makes me think that this is a genuine oversight in the game and that it's not meant to have blood on it. And it's just like... Because Naruhodo hasn't mentioned it. But why would he mention it? You know, you can't examine the absence of blood in the court record. This doesn't do anything. This can't possibly do anything. Oh, Andrew. This doesn't prove he didn't fall, and this doesn't prove that... she didn't stab him where it lay. Does any of the glass have blood on it? No, not even close. Does this have blood on it? No, not even close. That would be a funny final piece of evidence, but no. Well, I think I've resigned at this point to the fact that this is wrong and I'm just gonna lose. I didn't make it through the trilogy without losing.
Objection!
Thank you, Counsel. That will do.
But my lord, wait! The defense is still in the process of establishing its argument.
No further analysis is necessary, I feel. As such, I will be requesting that the final decisions of the members of the jury.
It's been an honor to serve, my lord, and we know exactly what we think now.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Kill me!
Shit.
Hold it!
In the dirt. That's not dirt. Okay, that makes sense. There's nothing here to suggest that he was dead at this point. You can't take fault with the fact that, look here, right? His arm isn't touching the strap. Whereas in the dead photo, he's tightly in, right? But you can't, like, come on, that's just an art thing, right? That's not, because this was drawn by a Capcom artist, whereas this was the models, right? You can't take fault with that. Graverobber didn't... Okay. Just thinking ahead, I know that this is getting ahead of myself and that I should probably focus on the fact I'm stuck. But I think Graverobber didn't kill him. He was alive at this point. Graverobber didn't kill him at all. Graverobber never wanted to kill him. Sure, Mr. Asman ruined him, but he probably didn't, like... Is that really enough of a motive for murder? He would be suspected immediately. You know, why not just take your 30% and then kill him if you really want to? Right? I'm not sure how it makes sense. But anyway, we have to focus on Scythe's fuck up. Both hands. She hesitates. Let's see. When does she hesitate? She doesn't hesitate when she talks about what she did. She hesitates when she talks about the cause of death. We have to prove that he didn't die from the fall. We have to prove it. He didn't die from the fall. This doesn't prove it, according to the game. This doesn't prove he didn't die from the fall. Not at all. Is there seriously nothing here? Look, it hasn't got blood on it. Fuck you, game. Let's read it one more time. I think this art is probably outdated. Otherwise Capcom would have rewritten that dialogue, right? This doesn't prove he didn't die from the fall. Not at all. You can't read into the fact that one's before the other. I think they randomise it, really. Now that I have lives galore, I might try presenting the autopsy report. Oh! Oh! Oh my god, dude. Oh. I've noticed it now. I think it's stupid though. Because you've got a vertebra in your neck. But the autopsy report doesn't say neck. She didn't even write neck. That's stupid though. There's no way, dude.
Objection!
Yeah. Fuck this game, man. Okay. At least I don't have to worry about that being the right answer now. Just double check that I presented it in the right place. Okay, yeah, I did. There really is nothing there. Stop thinking it's the birdcage, Aleks. I don't see how this could say anything. Oh my god. There's like a little bit where after the animation it slightly jarringly tilts a little tiny bit. And now I can't unsee it. Neck trauma. Neck trauma? What neck trauma? How could he have been... How was it neck trauma? I'm thinking... 1, 2, 3. On the... So 1, this statement. 2, the other statement. 3, the other... yeah, this... What did I just present again? Oh, her own autopsy report. Which, let's be honest, that's stupid. Oh! Hang on. Look. Here it says, a broken vertebra. Here it says, his neck was broken. So I literally wasted my time with that. It is in the chest. I'll do what I said because I'm stuck. I have failed. I've already lost. So what if I lose again?
Objection! Hold it! Hold it!
Ah. The blood in the photo, fine.
Objection!
Oh, fuck you. It's all the same, dude. It's all the same. It's all the fucking same, man. I said it, you just say it. Look, there's blood in the photo, there isn't blood on the cage, dude. Like, what the fuck? I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. Wait. Omen! It's the Omen theme. Dun, 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 ba, dun, 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 ba, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I'm not sitting up. There we go. Has that been like that the whole stream? I don't know.
What on earth is the matter, Council? Have you lost your tongue?
I apologise, my lord. Dr. Sai, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. No, that's not how he said it. That is not how he said it. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
Objection. The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's nothing new we can learn from it.
Objection!
Objection. Yes, we have already considered it. That's true. But we now know the facts to be different.
What do you mean? I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency in the witness's statement?
Take that!
Take that! Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downwards direction towards the man's feet. Okay, okay. I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't see it. I genuinely didn't see it. I genuinely didn't see it, okay? I deserved the loss. I didn't get cheated by the game, okay? Here I was, pretending the game had cheated me out of my no losses. But no, the game got me, okay? Shutakumi got me. I didn't solve his puzzle. I did not look at the evidence, and I did not find the contradiction. I just guessed.
And why is that significant, Count?
Fuck.
If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, that's entirely expected. Ah! Of course, no, that's not what happened.
Exactly, my lord. Dr. Scythe made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Hairbane's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage had fallen below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. And if the victim had really been stabbed whilst inside the birdcage in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downwards from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Asman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Scythe, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified that contradiction, there's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here.
What? What sort of misapprehension?
Dr. Scythe, you claim you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as the result of the note he left in the waxwork. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie, because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer.
If that is the case, what is it, man? Now, you clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Scythe's story is shown to be a lie or the contradiction in her testimony?
Dr. Scythe, clearly you weren't really coerced by some letter at all. This is wrong. It was number 2. Eh? Am I really this stupid? What? If you were, where is the note? It's nowhere to be seen. That's as may be. So why don't you present it to the court, if the assertion vexes you? Obviously, I've already disposed of it, as I'm not vexed in the slightest.
Now, need I remind you that it was you yourself who established the coercion?
No, I didn't.
I'm afraid that little cry is insufficient recompense for such a blunder. I shall have to penalise you.
Feeling vexed, minor penny's friend. Very... Fucking hell, I'm done. There's no question that the coroner's testimony built on a tremendous lie. I just felt like... I have no excuse for that. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards, as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time.
But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage.
Birdcage was it? What? Whoa. Let me read that again. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. I thought what we were going to say was, the victim didn't die from the fall, he just got up. He didn't die at all. And that's why I thought the coercion was a lie. Because if he didn't die at all, then why did she kill him? She had no reason to kill him. Why not just... Let's think about it. He didn't die. What would she have thought? She'd have got there, he'd have got up, and he'd have been like, oh, she'd have been like, oh, fuck. He didn't die. Because he didn't die, Drebber's gonna reveal my secrets. You know what, I'm just gonna keep Drebber happy by killing this dude myself. And he's a criminal anyway, so what do I care? Yes, sorry.
But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage.
Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
Objection! That's impossible! The man was dead, remember?
No, that is the misapprehension.
Ugh.
When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet and to climb out of the cage, just as Dr. Scythe appeared. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. Oh! Mr. Odie Asman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain. Nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe.
Order! Can this possibly be true?
Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him? You hoped, by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end, before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now, you're making all this up! And as if I would do something like that!
Objection!
Objection! I assure you, the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Huh, logic? Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What do you mean? Yes, I'd have thought it obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman?
Asman was involved in a number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder.
But there is no known connection to Dr. Scythe there.
I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched.
True, there's no obvious motive, but there's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner might have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report. But murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
Objection! No. When you questioned what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What?
What was it, Count? Enlighten the court at once.
Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. Ordering scalpels? Scalpels? There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Asman. Scalpels? What? How? How the fuck? How? How? From emotional damage. What? Scalpels? Scalpels? What's the motive for the crime, Naruhodo? Oh, the motive is clear. The motive was scalpels. Obviously. It's a scalpel. Or rather, scalpels.
Did you say scalpels?
It would appear that word struck a chord, Doctor. You! Come on, out with it! It was yesterday when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big thick book here. Don't tell me it had the name Asman in it. It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but, well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. How is that a motive?
500 scalpels a month?
At first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from the department's accounts. What? Oh, wait, what? She was just pocketing the money.
Asman's criminal organization relies heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward.
10 years ago, when Mr. Asman was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Trevor, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Scythe's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Oh my god, it's so simple.
Her darkest secret? Good lord, you mean?
I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago, but clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asman in the heart with all your might. To silence the blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. Who's the professor then? Very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb. The truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done and tell the court the truth about what happened. Very well. I hope he just perks up like,
10 years ago you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years.
Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. I mean, really. It's the addle-brained monk scientists that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. Fair. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness.
Careful, Mr. Drebber.
I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it. You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim. Yes, I admit it. I did it all, in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asman's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Asman, did it?
Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in.
Yes, I see.
The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true. Then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had.
Dun, dun, dun. So, there's a few problems. First is that just because he was thrown out of university didn't mean he couldn't become the scientist he wanted to, right? Like, sure, he doesn't have a degree, but he can still produce fantastic research if he wants to, right? Okay, maybe he would have had a lot of trouble funding it and publishing it. Okay. That kind of makes sense. And then the other part that's bothering me is he wouldn't have known who was going to go and investigate in the Crystal Tower. It was a complete fucking coincidence that Dr. Scythe, the person whose secret it was, showed up at the Crystal Tower. It could have easily been Gregson, or, I don't know, bloody anybody. Sholmes, right? Like, that part I just don't get. You can just say it was a coincidence, and that's fine, right? This story is so perfectly interlinked that that one small, no, large coincidence as a plot hole isn't that bad. Unless I'm missing something. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well. Or on Dr. Scythe, to be precise. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asmund turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. About the coroner who handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. How did he know it was Dr. Scythe? May I remind the court that this has a fat fucking label on it that says secret. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him, for revenge, and have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation that I had to suffer. Your actions against those who ruined your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Mr. Harebrain. Professor Harebrain's only crime was his passion for his hypothesis, but you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to exact your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this, your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. I... Chapter 2 did not deserve this theme, but this one totally fucking does. Wait, Chapter 2 didn't have this theme, right? I seem to recall thinking to myself, oh yeah, they didn't use the verdict theme.
Lord Van Sykes, what of Dr. Scythe? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted, and she's remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. A most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Hairbrain.
Oh, yes.
It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you were absolved of all guilt.
This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. I've been, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor, I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to, despite my lack of talent. Dude, that's pretty British as well. Like, the fact that people... It's un-American, right? Like, the American attitude is, you can do it, you know, the American dream, you can do what you set your mind to. But I feel like that sort of attitude isn't present here. And the worst of it is, in the process, I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Van Zykes. And the derision with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. Fucking hell. Zykes with the wisdom. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Thank you, Barak.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the church.
Yes, my lord.
It was this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections.
None from me, my lord. Certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever.
What's that? He's done, is he? It's all over?
Oh, I don't know what's becoming the yard these days. Oh, I don't recognise the place. Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty.
Hey.
Court is adjourned.
That was very good. I do find it odd that Casimir played no role whatsoever. He was just there. Literally, he was just there. He served no purpose. Sure, they're setting it up for chapters 4 and 5, but all he did was say the words, Kazuma, Sogi. You know? It's over. That was some trial. Can't believe I fucking lost. I did deserve to lose. I fucked up 3 big times in this trial, right? Like, I fucked up at the start with Enoch's first testimony. Right? Like, I completely shit the bed on that one. Wasn't that one kind of bullshit though? I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I presented the photo when I should have presented the something that was like stupidly obvious. I thought something was too obvious to point out. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is. Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo, Miss Susato, I am truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all been cleared up. That you realize you were just caught up in the bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money. I'll give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so... We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. Never mind the fact that we live in a shambles of an attic and we can't afford anything. You know, lawyers in Ace Attorney really do deserve to start being paid. Oh dear, what can I do? Aha! How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then. Thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Oh my, yes, what am I gonna do? My hypothesis and great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition whilst I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea.
I can't allow that.
Oh, I can't allow that. Lord Van Zykes, what are you doing in here? What the fuck is he gonna say now? Barrett! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a giant... You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution, or the defense. Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interests at heart, don't worry. Oh, how about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We'd have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover
I'll accompany you.
What?
From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets.
But no! Hold on a minute, Barak. What about the Great Exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around.
No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea.
Oh. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barrett.
Lord Van Zykes? What's this all about? A necessary precaution.
Yes, I think I understand.
You do?
Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zykes at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well, even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. You mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas?
Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now.
But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent.
True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend.
Barak?
Like the moustached Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once.
Right.
Does your fan-shaped package get any say in it?
Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zykes?
In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless, and yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being.
Ah, yes, all right. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything.
Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust has settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now.
Ring. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? Sorry, my Van Zykes voice is a bit off. Objection. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes.
I like it when I get to talk with Van Zykes in the courtroom. Iconic moments.
Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The enigma, Barak Van Zykes. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then.
He's going to unmask him. He's going to unmask the evidence. Dude, I really hope this scene is, like, modelled and everything. He's standing there with a mask in the middle, like, ominously. Almost. Okay.
So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice.
Yes, I think so. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven.
Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from.
The fact that, like, the gallery is empty, and the judge isn't here, and there's no witnesses, it almost has that feeling of going to a lecture theatre after dark, when nobody's using it and it's just an empty lecture theatre. Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagined you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my vase. Will you tell me what happened, please?
The professor.
Oh, the professor was his friend that he was on about in the ending. Is this Van Zykes' reminiscence theme? That was like Big Ben. There's got to be another one, right? That's actually a Big Ben sample. I swear. It's actually Van Zyk's theme, but slower, right? One more loop. I'll listen to one more loop. Now to the climax. Well, it's not really a climax when it's this sort of tempo. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest.
He took your brother's life.
Clint. My brother was Clint Van Zykes. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. So probably the Japanese one. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan.
But didn't Professor Mikotaba come as well?
That's not a judicial student.
Oh! If it were 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father.
Of course, I remember Dr. Mikotaba well.
I had no idea.
I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese.
So, you've actually met my father?
He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved.
I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zykes. Truly.
Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time.
In plain sight? Are you aware
of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires.
A new treaty was being forged, I think?
Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our 2 nations could very well have ended up at war.
What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my! You mean to say that the professor was...
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time.
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time.
Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Father.
What? Father? Kazuma! My best friend, Kazuma Asogi.
Even Asogi gets a new theme.
After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As he stood there before me, Ryunosuke. Hello again. My friend.
Dude, why is this scene so fucking epic?
Kazuma-sama!
Dude, this scene is so epic. They went through so much effort to make this.
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily, Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too. For taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma, the great blade of the Asogi clan, passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword. And I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last. Father.
This was his mission that he was sent for, or something.
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time?
Surely not. Surely not.
I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
So he's the living after-image of the man who took my brother's life, is he?
Yes, Kazuma Asugi, my best friend. 3 months ago,
When Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection.
but why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Van Zykes' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia too?
The man was apprehended, even executed, but his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you for meeting with me, as I asked. Fade out of existence. The perfect way to end that epic scene. Just swoop into nothingness. Don't even animate me walking out.
10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him. Poor Susato-san. All this is tied up with painful memories for her too. She's never talked about this with me before though. It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He
told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.
How long was this stream? 3 hours 23, and it's almost 3 a.m. Bum bum bum. Holy shit. Dude, Enoch Drebber was dank. Dr. Scythe wasn't my favourite villain, but she was just overshadowed by Drebber's just meminess. Right? Like, yeah, Scythe was just sort of there because she had to be. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't a bad villain. She only had one testimony, though. Literally one. Like, she didn't break down very much. She just sort of laughed, like, wow. Really? I got screwed over like this? But yeah, she really didn't hit that hard. You don't feel bad for Scythe at all, right? Like, Scythe is just, fuck you, basically. But Drebber was just fucking great. Drebber is just such a good character. He is such a good character. He was a fucking gravedigger to make money to research. Like, come on, that alone is so cool. Like, a fucking grave robber that is a scientist. And then on top of that, he had the whole ordeal of seeing something that was incredibly unscientific, I suppose you could say. A man coming back to life. A magic trick, I suppose. And the way that he sought to laugh at these dubious scientists and use them as his career to piggyback off their, you know. Yeah, I mean, and the fact that he has this story of, like, success isn't the idea of talent, right? Like, he was a talent that didn't succeed, and Hairbrain was a lack of talent that almost, you know, that was full of the optimism for success. And then, on top of it all, the actual, like, plot itself and the way that Scythe... Okay, there is one plot hole, and that is, it is pure luck that Scythe happened to investigate inside the Crystal Tower first. There was no reason it had to be her, right? Like, there was no trickery there. But, I mean, that's not the first time in Ace Attorney that things genuinely happen by coincidence. Like, I mean, look at the finale of Apollo Justice, for example. That was a fantastic case. That could have genuinely been Twisted Karma and His Last Bow. Well, I'm not gonna. Episode 4, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow. It was indeed a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement and a commonplace killing at the edge of town. That was just fucking amazing. And that finale scene as well. Like, before we went in the courtroom, didn't I say, like, I really hope they show him, like, in the center of the courtroom with the mask and it's all animated and shit. Right? Didn't I say that? And not only was it that, it was so much more than that. That whole scene must have taken so much work. Just in terms of... There hasn't been a scene like that, really, before, has there? Voice acted, with animation, and, like, button by button. It plays a little animation, then it stops, then you press the button and it plays the next one. Like, there hasn't been a scene like that, has there? Or if there has, it was very different than that. Like, that was something else. How is this gonna not... Okay, in terms of this being the best Ace Attorney game ever, right? It's lining itself up to be, isn't it? Right? You've got the trilogy, you've got Investigations 1 and 2, and you've got this duology as well, right? I think that Investigations 2 is better than the trilogy just about, right? Like, and Investigations 1 is sort of like the... Is Investigations 1... is DGS 1 going to be to DGS 2 what Investigations 1 is to Investigations 2? Like, Investigations 1 was not the best Ace Attorney game. DGS 1 was a good, very good, even, maybe, Ace Attorney game. It was missing a few pieces, and its overall plot, so to speak, was lacking. You know, there wasn't really much closure apart from the McGilded stuff. But DGS 2... DGS 2 is gonna be the Investigations 2 of the duology. It's gonna be insane, like unprecedentedly good. It's like unprecedentedly good. There you go. Wait, no, unprecedentedly good. Unprecedentedly good. Not unprecedentedly. Unprecedentedly. English. That was insane. That was insane. Kazuma is back. Are we going to get to face Kazuma in court? Please let us face Kazuma in court as a prosecutor. Oh my god, that would be so fucking epic, dude. Give us a break. We have had Van Zykes. No, sorry. We've had Pain. Oh, sorry, Ouchie. We've had Ouchie. None. Van Zykes. Ouchie. Van Zykes. Van Zykes, as a prosecutor, he's not done and dusted. Like, his personal story is yet to be fully told. Sort of. Right? Like, we know his motivations now, too. That's very interesting, actually. The mystery of Van Zykes is pretty much gone. I mean, sure, there's a little bit, like... Is there even a little bit left? Like, Could Van Zykes be the next murder victim and, like, it be a closed arc for him? Theoretically. I don't think that would happen, but... I get the reason, I get the feeling that it could be. Right? Like, if Van Zykes died right now, it wouldn't ruin his character. He's had a full arc, I guess. Maybe he could... I don't know. Van Zykes is fucking great, though. Actually brilliant. He's better than Edgeworth. He's better. Is he better than Goddo? Goddo is fucking cool. Him and Goddo are depending on how good Van Zykes gets in these next two cases. If Van Zykes sort of tapers off from here, and he's, you know, he remains this sort of one note, not one note, but you know what I mean, like, if this is the extent of his character, right, being incredibly justice-minded, you know, intimidating guy who's like, whose objections are always impactful, and he, you know, he always puts people in his place and does it his way, and fucking foot slams for a laugh. Right. If that was the extent of his character, it wouldn't be bad, but I think Goddo would have been better. He needs something else to be better than Goddo. Will he get that something else? Let's be honest, it's Shu Takumi. Probably. Shu Takumi is going all out with these games. Right. Wow, that was a stream and a half. Was it better than the 5-hour stream? Yeah. Alright. Fucking hell. Can't believe I lost though. Oh my god, I lost the game. Lost the game, man. How did I fucking not think? It was a hard thing to find. Fucking bloodstain flowing down him. Are you serious? I was sure it was gonna be the lack of come on, it stuck out like a sore thumb. The fact that there was no blood on the cage. Please tell me that wasn't just an error and that was actually me being dumb, because it just felt so wrong, you know? Alright. Bye-bye.